Captain Doyen Kim stood on the bridge of the UESS Horizon, staring at the massive object that had just appeared on their sensors. It was bigger than anything humanity had ever built. The ship was dark and silent, floating at the edge of the Kuiper Belt like a sleeping giant. "How big is that thing?" Doyen asked, his voice calm despite the tension in the room. Engineer Hana Lee checked her screens. 5 kilometers long, Captain. Maybe more. It's hard to get exact readings. The hull is made of materials we've never seen before. Doyen nodded slowly. This was it. First contact. Humanity had dreamed about this moment for centuries. Now it was happening, and Doyen felt the weight of every decision he would make in the next few hours. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," said the communications officer. "Audio and visual. They want to talk." "Put it on screen," Doyen ordered. The main display flickered to life. An alien face appeared. It had large, multifaceted eyes like an insect, smooth gray skin and a small mouth. The creature had 3 fingers on each hand. When it spoke, the words came out in perfect English, though the voice sounded mechanical. "Greetings, humans of Earth. I am Ambassador Velthar of the Galactic Council. We have been waiting for you to reach this point in your development. Welcome to the greater community of intelligent species." Dr. Jiwoo Park stepped forward, barely containing her excitement. She had spent her entire career preparing for this moment. "Ambassador, this is an honor. We are peaceful explorers. We come in friendship." Velthar's head tilted slightly. "Yes, peaceful. We have observed your species for many years. We know much about you. Perhaps we may meet in person. I would like to come aboard your vessel." Doyen glanced at Lieutenant Minho Choi, his security officer. Minho's face was hard and suspicious. He shook his head slightly, but Doyen knew they had no choice. "This was too important. Of course, Ambassador. We would be honored to host you." An hour later, a small shuttle detached from the alien mothership. It glided smoothly toward the horizon, its movements perfect and controlled. The crew watched nervously as it docked with their airlock. Minho had his security team ready, though they kept their weapons hidden. Doyen had ordered them to look friendly but stay alert. When the airlock opened, Ambassador Velthar stepped through, followed by 2 other aliens who appeared to be assistants. Up close, Velthar was taller than he had appeared on screen. He stood about 2 meters high, thin and delicate looking. His movements were slow and careful. The 2 assistants carried devices that were probably recording equipment. "Welcome aboard the Horizon," Doyen said, extending his hand. Velthar looked at the hand for a long moment before reaching out with his own 3-fingered hand. The handshake was brief and awkward. Jiwoo started the tour, excited to show the aliens their ship. But something felt wrong. Doyen noticed how the aliens moved. They were careful, almost fearful. When they passed through doorways, they hesitated. When crew members walked by, the aliens pressed themselves against the walls. "Your gravity feels strong," Velthar commented as they walked through the corridors. "Is this normal for your species?" "This is Earth normal," Jiwoo explained. 1 standard gravity. "Is it uncomfortable for you?" "Uncomfortable? No, difficult, yes. My world has much lighter gravity. Walking here is like carrying heavy weights." Velthar's voice remained calm, but Doyen saw sweat forming on the alien's skin. They reached the meeting room. Jiwoo had prepared refreshments, including water. She offered a glass to Velthar, trying to be hospitable. The ambassador looked at the water like it was poison. "Thank you, but I cannot drink this. Water in such concentration is dangerous for my species. And your oxygen level," he paused. "Your air is very rich, very combustible. Do you not fear fires?" Jiwoo looked confused. "Fires? Well, yes, but we have safety systems. Our atmosphere has been like this for millions of years. It's normal for us." "Normal," Velthar repeated quietly. One of his assistants was scanning the humans with a handheld device. The assistant looked at the readings and made a soft chirping sound. Velthar turned to look at the device and his large eyes widened. Doyen saw it then. Fear. Pure fear in the ambassador's eyes. It only lasted a second before Velthar controlled himself, but it was there. "Ambassador, is something wrong?" Doyen asked carefully. "Wrong? No, nothing is wrong. I simply need to adjust to your environment." Velthar's 3-fingered hand was trembling slightly. "Your biology is fascinating. Your bone density, muscle structure, the efficiency of your cells, all very impressive." They talked for another hour. Velthar explained about the Galactic Council, a union of 12 species that had been working together for thousands of years. He invited the humans to visit their nearest outpost, a space station called Kepler 442. You will meet other species there, learn about the galaxy. We have much to share with you, Velthar said, but his voice sounded hollow like he was reading from a script. As the meeting ended, Minho escorted the aliens back to their shuttle. Doyen watched them go, his instincts screaming that something was very wrong. These aliens weren't greeting new friends. They were studying potential threats. After the aliens left, the senior crew gathered in the conference room. Jiwoo was excited, talking rapidly about all the things they would learn. Hana was already thinking about alien technology. But Minho and Doyen exchanged worried looks. They were scared, Minho said bluntly. Did you see how they moved around us? Like we were dangerous animals. Maybe they're just careful, Jiwoo argued. This is first contact. Everyone is nervous. No, Doyun said quietly. Minho is right. They were afraid. The question is why? What did their scanners tell them about us? Hana pulled up some data on her tablet. I recorded their scanning frequencies. Let me see if I can figure out what they were measuring. She worked in silence for several minutes, her face growing more concerned. Captain, they were measuring bone density, muscle mass, cellular efficiency, and pain tolerance indicators. This wasn't a friendly scan. This was a threat assessment. The room fell silent. Finally, Jiwoo spoke, her voice smaller now. But we're peaceful. We told them that. Maybe they don't care what we say, Minho replied. Maybe they care what we are. Doyen stood and walked to the window. Outside, the alien mothership was still visible, a dark shape against the stars. He thought about Velthar's trembling hand, the fear in those insect eyes, the careful way the aliens had moved through the ship. Set course for outpost Kepler 442, he ordered. We need answers. But everyone stays alert. Until we understand what's happening, we assume nothing. As the crew dispersed, Doyen remained at the window. Somewhere on that alien ship, he knew Velthar was sending reports back to his superiors, and Doyen was certain those reports weren't talking about humanity's peaceful intentions. In his private quarters on the mothership, Ambassador Velthar sat in the low-gravity chamber he needed to rest. His hands were still shaking. He opened his communication device and sent an encrypted message to the Galactic Council. The message was short but urgent. It contained all the biological data his assistants had collected. Bone density 3 times galactic average, muscle efficiency rating off the charts, ability to function in gravity that would crush most species, a healing factor that suggested incredible pain tolerance, and most disturbing, the chemical markers in their biology that indicated a species born from constant conflict. At the end of the message, Velthar added his personal assessment in just 4 words that would change everything. They're Death Worlders. Run. Outpost Kepler 442 was the largest structure Doyen had ever seen. The space station stretched for kilometers in every direction, a massive ring spinning slowly in the darkness. Thousands of ships moved around it like insects around a hive. This was the gateway to the Galactic Council's territory, and it was beautiful. The horizon docked smoothly. As the crew prepared to disembark, Doyen noticed something odd. The docking bay was nearly empty. For such a huge station, there should have been hundreds of workers and travelers. Instead, there were maybe 20 aliens, all keeping their distance. Where is everyone? Jiwoo asked, looking around nervously. A small alien approached them. It had blue fur and large, gentle eyes. It wore what looked like an official uniform. Welcome to Kepler 442. I am Kree, your assigned guide. Please follow me to your quarters. As they walked through the station, the crew noticed more strange things. Aliens would see them coming and quickly move to the other side of the corridor. Shop owners closed their doors. Parents grabbed their children and hurried away. It was like the humans carried some invisible disease. Minho's hand stayed near his weapon. I don't like this, Captain. We're being treated like threats. Let's get to our quarters first, Doyen said calmly. Then we'll figure out what's happening. The human quarters were in a separate section of the station. The rooms were nice but isolated. It felt less like hospitality and more like quarantine. Once Kree left them alone, the crew gathered in the common area. Something is very wrong here, Jiwoo said. She looked hurt and confused. They're afraid of us, but why? We haven't done anything. Hana was already working on her computer. I'm going to hack into the station's database. Maybe I can find some answers. Is that wise? Doyen asked. Probably not, but we need to know what we're dealing with. Hana's fingers flew across the keyboard. The station's security was good, but Hana was better. Within 20 minutes, she was into their files. Got something, she said quietly. There's a whole section about Earth. It's classified as high priority. She pulled up the files on the main screen. What they saw made everyone go silent. Earth was listed as a Class 12 death world, the highest danger rating in the galaxy. The file explained what that meant in cold clinical terms. Earth's gravity was 3 times higher than most habitable planets. The oxygen levels would cause fires that most species couldn't even comprehend. The planet had millions of species, most of them predators. It had extreme weather that killed thousands at a time, diseases that evolved faster than medicine could stop them. But the worst part was the section about humanity itself. The file listed human capabilities in detail. Bone structure designed to handle extreme impacts, muscles that could function for hours without rest, a healing factor that let humans recover from injuries that would kill other species, the ability to survive on almost any food, temperature tolerance that ranged from freezing to extreme heat. And then there was the history section. 10,000 years of human warfare, weapons that got more deadly with each generation, tactics and strategies developed through countless conflicts, nuclear weapons that humans had created and used on themselves. They think we're monsters, Jiwoo whispered. Tears formed in her eyes. Everything that makes us human they see as weapons. Minho stood up and started pacing. Maybe they're right. Look at this data. Compared to them, we're built like war machines. We come from a planet that tried to kill us every single day. No wonder they're scared. But we're not monsters, Doyen said firmly. We're strong because we had to be. We survived because we adapted. That doesn't make us evil. The next day, Doyen decided the crew needed to try living normally on the station. Hiding in their quarters would only make things worse. Hana went to the engineering section, hoping to learn about alien technology. Minho headed to the station's gym to work out. Jiwoo visited the medical center to study xenobiology. Each of them encountered the same fear and suspicion, but they also started to understand why. Hana found a piece of equipment that needed to be moved. 3 alien engineers were struggling with it, using a mechanical lift. She walked over and picked it up with her bare hands. It wasn't even that heavy by human standards, but the aliens panicked. Security was called. Hana had to spend an hour explaining that she was just trying to help. Later, she met her guide Kree in a quiet corner. The small alien seemed less afraid than the others. Why do you fear us so much? Hana asked gently. Kree looked around nervously before answering. Because you shouldn't exist. Life from death worlds never becomes civilized. The environment is too harsh. Species that survive places like Earth are always aggressive, always violent. They conquer or they die. That's the pattern we've seen for 200,000 years. But we're not like that, Hana protested, aren't you? Kree asked softly. Your history is filled with wars. Your entertainment glorifies violence. Your sports involve hitting each other. Even your games are about conflict and victory. And your bodies, Kree shuddered. You can lift things that would crush us. You can run for hours. You heal from wounds that would be fatal to any council species. How are we supposed to not be afraid? Hana had no answer to that. Minho had a similar experience at the gym. He started his normal workout routine, running on a treadmill at a comfortable pace. Within 5 minutes, alarms started going off. Station security thought the treadmill was malfunctioning, because no living being should be able to run that fast for that long. When they realized Minho was fine, just exercising, they shut down the entire gym and asked him to leave. Jiwoo's experience was perhaps the most disturbing. At the medical center, she was asked about human diet. When she explained that humans ate both plants and meat, the doctors were shocked. Most galactic species were either herbivores or specialized carnivores. The ability to eat anything was seen as a predator trait. When she mentioned that humans could eat raw food if necessary, one doctor actually fainted. That evening, the crew gathered again. Each person shared their story. The pattern was clear. Everything normal for humans was terrifying to aliens. Their strength, endurance, adaptability, and resilience marked them as dangerous. There's going to be a vote, Doyen announced. I hacked into some council communications. They're debating what to do about Earth. 3 options are on the table. Quarantine us and never make contact again. Carefully integrate us with heavy restrictions. Or try to work with us as equals. When is the vote? Hana asked. End of the week. 4 days from now. Jiwoo looked around at her crewmates. So we have 4 days to prove we're not monsters. How do we do that? No one had an answer. They were caught in an impossible situation. They couldn't change what they were. Earth had made them strong, adaptable, and resilient. Those same traits that let humanity survive now marked them as threats. That night, Doyen couldn't sleep. He stood at the window of his quarters looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, home to 8 billion humans who had no idea their entire future was being decided by aliens who feared them. He thought about everything they had learned. The galaxy was old and established. Species had evolved on gentle worlds where cooperation was easy and violence was rare. They had built a civilization based on peace because peace was natural for them. Humans were different. Earth had been harsh and demanding. Humanity had learned to fight, to endure, to never give up. Those lessons were written into their very bones. But those same lessons had also taught humans compassion. When you knew what suffering felt like, you learned to care about others who suffered. When you fought to survive, you learned the value of helping each other. The galaxy saw human strength and feared it. They didn't see human compassion because they had never needed to develop the same kind. They had never faced the challenges that taught humans to be strong and kind at the same time. Doyen didn't know how to make them understand. Words wouldn't be enough. Humans would have to show the galaxy what they really were. But how? The answer came in the worst possible way. The alarm woke Doyen from a restless sleep. It was a sound he had never heard before, high-pitched and urgent. Emergency lights flooded his quarters with red light. His communicator buzzed frantically. "Captain, we have a situation." It was Hana, her voice tight with stress. "A cargo ship just collided with the station. There are fires. Multiple hull breaches. The station's emergency systems are failing." Doyen was already moving, pulling on his uniform. "Where's the damage?" "Section 7 near our quarters." "Captain, it's bad. The fire is spreading through the oxygen-rich areas. The alien crew is panicking. Get everyone to the assembly point." "I'm on my way." Doyen ran through the corridors. Other humans were already moving, responding to the emergency with practiced efficiency. But the aliens were different. They stood frozen, staring at the flames visible through windows. Some were crying. Others simply cowered against walls. Doyen realized something terrifying. These aliens had never seen fire like this. Their worlds were gentle places. Fire was a rare thing, easily controlled. But here, in the oxygen-rich environment humans needed, fire was a monster. The human crew assembled quickly. Doyen did a fast count, 32 people, including himself. Not many, but they were all that stood between hundreds of aliens and death. "Listen up," Doyen said, his voice carrying over the chaos. "Station security is overwhelmed. The alien crew can't fight fires like we can. They didn't evolve with fire. They don't have our heat tolerance or our ability to work through smoke. We're going in." "Sir, we haven't been authorized," one crew member said. "I don't care about authorization. People are dying. Move out." Minho organized them into teams. They grabbed emergency equipment and headed toward the fire. The heat hit them first, a wave of burning air that made their eyes water. But they kept moving. This was uncomfortable for humans, but it was survivable. For the aliens they found, it was lethal. Doyen's team reached the first group quickly. 6 aliens were huddled in a corner, unable to move through the smoke and heat. Their species had evolved in cool environments. This temperature was cooking them alive. "We've got you," Doyen said, lifting one of the aliens. It was surprisingly light. He carried it through the flames, the alien whimpering in his arms. His team followed, each human carrying 1 or 2 aliens toward safety. All across the damaged section, similar scenes played out. Minho's team found a group of 20 aliens trapped behind a collapsed wall. The aliens had tried to move the debris but couldn't. It was too heavy for their weak muscles. Minho and 3 other humans lifted the entire section and moved it aside. The aliens stared in shock. One of them recorded it on a handheld device. The footage would later be seen by billions across the galaxy. 4 humans lifting what should have taken 20 aliens with machinery. Hana's team reached a section where the hull had been breached. Air was rushing out into space. 3 aliens were clinging to support beams, too weak to pull themselves to safety. The vacuum would kill them in minutes. "I'm going in," Hana announced. "That's a vacuum. Hana, you'll have maybe 40 seconds. Then I better be fast." Hana took a deep breath and stepped through the emergency barrier. The vacuum hit her immediately. Her ears popped. Her lungs burned. But she kept moving. She reached the first alien and grabbed it, then the second, then the third. Her vision was going dark. Blood vessels in her eyes were bursting. but she made it back through the barrier. The other humans pulled her through and sealed the breach behind her. Hana collapsed, gasping for air. Medical teams would later marvel that she survived. Most galactic species would have died in 15 seconds. Hana had lasted 42. Jiwoo worked in the medical center, which was overflowing with casualties. Alien doctors were struggling. They didn't know how to treat species that weren't their own. Jiwoo moved between patients, using her knowledge and intuition to help. She performed emergency surgery on an alien with completely different biology, improvising as she went. An alien doctor watched her work in amazement. "How do you know what to do? This species isn't even in the same evolutionary family as yours." "I don't know," Jiwoo admitted, her hands moving quickly. "I'm just trying to save lives. We figure it out as we go." The fires burned for 6 hours. The entire time, humans worked without rest. They carried aliens through flames. They lifted debris that should have been impossible to move. They worked in toxic smoke that burned their lungs. They didn't stop to complain or rest. They just kept saving lives. By the time the fires were finally contained, the humans had rescued 847 aliens. Not a single human had died, though many were injured. The station's sensors had recorded everything. Every rescue. Every impossible feat of strength and endurance. The footage was automatically uploaded to the galactic network. Within hours, it was trending on thousands of worlds. Billions of aliens watched as humans ran through fire, lifted impossible weights, worked for hours without rest, and refused to leave anyone behind. Doyen sat in the medical center accepting treatment for his burns. They weren't serious by human standards, but the alien doctors looked horrified. Jiwoo sat next to him, exhausted but alive. Hana was in a recovery pod, her body healing from the vacuum exposure. Minho was coordinating with station security, helping with the cleanup. "We did it," Jiwoo said quietly. "We saved them." "We did," Doyen agreed. "But look at their faces. They're grateful, but they're also more afraid than before." It was true. The aliens they had saved thanked them, but there was fear in their eyes. They had seen what humans could do, running through flames that should have killed them, lifting weight that should have been impossible, working through conditions that should have been lethal. The rescue had proven that humans were as dangerous as the files suggested. Kree visited Hana in the recovery center. The small alien's fur was singed from being near the fire. "Thank you for saving my life," Kree said softly. "You carried me through the flames like I weighed nothing." "You're welcome. Anyone would have done the same." "No," Kree said. "No one else could have done the same. Don't you understand? We saw what you are today. You walked through fire. You breathed poison. You survived vacuum. You're everything the files said you were. You're Death Worlders." Hana felt tears forming. "We're just trying to help." "I know," Kree said. "That's what makes it so confusing. You're terrifying, but you use that power to save us. The galaxy doesn't know what to do with that." Across the galaxy, debates raged. News channels showed the rescue footage on repeat. Some aliens called humans heroes. Others called them dangerous. Many called them both. On the Council homeworld, the 12-member species held an emergency session. The vote about Earth's status had been scheduled for the next day, but everything had changed. The rescue had proven that humans were exactly as dangerous as feared. But it had also shown something unexpected. Humans use their power to protect the weak. Ambassador Velthar stood before the council. "I was wrong," he said. "I called them Death Worlders and told you to run. But I was only seeing half the picture. Yes, they're dangerous. Yes, they're powerful. But they're also compassionate. They risked their lives for aliens they barely knew. What does that tell us?" "It tells us they're unpredictable," one council member argued. "Today they save us. Tomorrow they might conquer us." Or, another council member suggested, "It tells us they could be the protectors we've always needed." The debate continued for hours. Finally, a proposal was made, a test. The humans would be given a chance to prove their intentions, a dangerous mission that only Death Worlders could survive. If they succeeded, it would prove they could be trusted. If they failed, or if they showed aggression, Earth would be quarantined forever. The vote was unanimous. The test would happen. The next morning, Ambassador Velthar came to the human quarters. Doyen met him in the common area. The alien looked tired and stressed. "Captain Kim, the council has a proposal for you. A chance to prove that humanity deserves a place in galactic society." Doyen listened as Velthar explained the mission. A colony world called Refuge was under attack. 10,000 aliens were trapped there, surrounded by hostile forces. The environment was deadly. The situation was hopeless. Every council military force had refused the mission. "You want us to go?" Doyen said. "Yes. If you succeed, you prove that humans can be trusted. If you refuse, Earth will be quarantined. Those are your options." Doyen didn't hesitate. "We'll go. Send us the coordinates." Refuge was visible on the main screen. The planet looked angry. Dark clouds swirled across its surface in massive storm systems. The atmosphere readings made Hana whistle. High gravity, toxic gases, extreme weather patterns. This place makes Earth look gentle. That's why the colonists are dying, Doyen said, and why no one else will help them. How long until we can land? There's a storm system between us and the colony. We'll have to go through it. The turbulence will be severe. Most council ships can't survive that, Minho observed. But the horizon was built for Earth. We can handle it. The ship shuddered as it entered the atmosphere. Lightning struck the hull repeatedly. The temperature spiked as friction heated the exterior. Alarms blared, but the horizon held together. Human engineering was overbuilt for harsh conditions. What would destroy an alien ship was merely uncomfortable for them. They landed outside the colony in a rocky valley. 50 human Marines had joined them at the last station. Now those Marines gathered in the cargo bay, checking weapons and equipment. Their leader was Major Soo-hyun Yoon, a veteran of Earth's resource wars. "Listen up," Soo-hyun addressed her troops. "We have 10,000 civilians trapped in that colony. They're surrounded by Krix raiders. The Krix are hostile, well-armed, and they don't take prisoners. Our job is to hold them off long enough to evacuate everyone." "Questions?" A young Marine raised his hand. Corporal Junho Nam looked barely old enough to serve. "Major, what do we know about the Krix?" "They're raiders, pirates. They're bigger than most galactic species, stronger too. They've been terrorizing this sector for decades, but they're not Death Worlders. Compared to us, they're still soft." The landing party moved out. The gravity was crushing. Doyen felt like he was wearing a heavy backpack. His muscles strained with each step, but they kept moving. The Marines adapted quickly, adjusting their gait to handle the extra weight. The colony appeared ahead, a cluster of domed buildings surrounded by defensive walls. As they approached, weapons tracked their movement. Then someone recognized their IFF signals. The gates opened. Inside, the situation was desperate. The aliens looked sick and weak. Many were injured. Children cried from hunger. The colony's leader, a tall alien with gray skin, approached them cautiously. "You came," the alien said, surprise evident in his voice. "We sent the distress call weeks ago. The council said no one would help. The conditions here are too dangerous." "We're humans," Doyen said simply. "Dangerous conditions are normal for us. Tell me about the Krix forces." The colony leader pulled up a tactical map. 300 raiders camped 5 kilometers north. They attack every day, testing our defenses. We've held them off so far, but we're running out of supplies and ammunition. And there's another problem. A megastorm is coming. In 3 days, it will hit the colony. Winds strong enough to tear buildings apart. No one will survive. Soo-hyun studied the map carefully. "Captain, I have a plan. It's risky, but it uses our advantages. Let's hear it. The Krix can't function in this gravity like we can, and when that storm hits, they'll be helpless. But we can operate in extreme weather. We use the storm. Hit them during the worst of it. They'll never expect an attack in those conditions." "You want to fight in a megastorm?" the colony leader asked, horrified. "We're from Earth," Soo-hyun said with a grim smile. "We've fought in worse." Over the next 2 days, the humans prepared. Jiwoo set up a medical center and started treating the injured colonists. Her human medical knowledge translated surprisingly well to alien biology. Hana worked on reinforcing the colony's shields. Minho and Soo-hyun trained the Marines for the coming battle. Junho spent time with the alien children. They were scared and hungry. He shared his rations with them and taught them simple games. One small alien, barely waist-high, looked up at Junho with wide eyes. "Are you really going to fight the Krix?" "Yes," Junho said gently. "We're going to keep you safe. The Krix are scary. They're big and mean. Don't worry. We're scarier." On the second day, the Krix attacked. They came in force, 200 warriors charging the colony walls. The colonists panicked, but the humans moved into position calmly. "Hold fire until they're in range," Minho ordered. "Make every shot count." The Krix were big, nearly 3 meters tall, with thick armor and heavy weapons. They looked terrifying. But when the humans opened fire, the cricks started falling. Human accuracy was exceptional. Years of evolution as hunters had given humans incredible hand-eye coordination. The cricks reached the walls and tried to climb them. Minho led a squad in close combat. The cricks were strong, but human muscles adapted for high gravity were stronger. Minho grabbed a cricks warrior and threw him off the wall. The alien crashed to the ground 5 meters below. The other cricks saw this and hesitated. These defenders were smaller than cricks, but they fought like demons. After losing 30 warriors, the cricks retreated. In their camp, the cricks commander reviewed footage of the battle. His tactical officer looked worried. "Commander, what are these creatures?" "They're called humans. From a planet called Earth. They're small, but they fight like they're our size." "How is that possible?" The commander pulled up Earth's data file. As he read, his face changed. "They're Deathworlders. The planet's gravity is twice what we're used to. No wonder they're so strong here." "Should we retreat?" "No, we outnumber them. We can wear them down. But we attack before that storm hits. Once it arrives, we evacuate." On the third day, the storm arrived. The sky turned black. Wind howled at 200 kilometers per hour. Rain fell like bullets. Lightning struck constantly. The colony shields flickered under the assault. "This is it," Su-Hyun told her Marines. "The cricks will hunker down and wait out the storm. They think we'll do the same. But we're going hunting." 50 Marines moved out into the storm. The wind tried to push them over, but they leaned into it and kept moving. The rain hurt, but they ignored it. This was harsh, but Earth had trained them for harsh conditions. They reached the cricks camp in an hour. The raiders were huddled in their shelters, trying to survive the storm. They never saw the humans coming. The attack was swift and brutal. The cricks tried to fight back, but they were disoriented by the weather. Their weapons malfunctioned in the rain. Their sensors were useless in the wind. The humans moved through the camp like ghosts. They destroyed supply depots, disabled vehicles, took out communication equipment. The cricks commander finally saw what was happening and tried to rally his forces, but when he saw humans fighting in the storm, moving like it didn't affect them, he understood. These weren't normal soldiers. These were predators from a death world. The cricks had never had a chance. "Fall back," the commander ordered. "Get to the ships." "Retreat!" The cricks fled to their landing craft and escaped into orbit. The humans had won without losing a single soldier. When they returned to the colony, the aliens stared at them in awe. They had gone out into a storm that should have killed them, and defeated an enemy force 6 times their size. But the storm was getting worse. Now came the hard part: evacuation. The colonists were weak and terrified. Many couldn't even walk in the heavy gravity. The humans would have to carry them. "Everyone to the landing zones," Doyen ordered. "We have 6 hours before the worst of the storm hits. We need to get everyone on shuttles and off this planet." The evacuation began. Each human carried 2 or 3 aliens at a time, running through the storm to the waiting shuttles. Yunyo stayed at the landing zone, coordinating the departure. Wave after wave of shuttles lifted off, fighting through the wind to reach the horizon in orbit. By the 5th hour, they had evacuated 9,800 colonists, but 200 remained, including the children Junho had befriended. The storm was reaching its peak. Wind speeds hit 300 kilometers per hour. The colony's shields were failing. "Last shuttle is here," Junho reported, "but it can only take 150. We're 50 short. Load the children first," Su-Hyun ordered. "Then as many adults as possible." The shuttle filled quickly. Junho made sure every child got on board. The small alien who had talked to him grabbed his hand. "Come with us." "I'll be right behind you," Junho promised. "Go," the shuttle lifted off. Yunho stayed behind with 49 other humans and 50 aliens. Another shuttle would come, but it would take 30 minutes. The colony shields wouldn't last that long. "Listen up," Yunho shouted over the storm. "The shields are failing. When they go down, we huddle together. Humans on the outside. We can take more punishment. Keep the civilians safe in the middle. The shuttle will be here soon." The shields failed. The full force of the storm hit them. Debris flew like missiles. The humans formed a protective circle around the aliens, using their bodies as shields. They were battered and bruised, but they held the line. 20 minutes passed. Then 25. Finally, through the chaos, they heard the shuttle's engines. It landed nearby, fighting the wind. Everyone ran for it. The humans helped the aliens climb aboard. Junho did a quick count. Everyone was accounted for. He climbed aboard last, and the shuttle door closed. But as they lifted off, a massive gust hit them. The shuttle spun out of control. The shuttle spun wildly. Alarms screamed. The pilot fought the controls, but the storm was too strong. They were going down. Junho grabbed the communications panel. "Horizon, this is Shuttle 7. We're crashing. I need to guide you through the storm for the next pickup." "Negative, Shuttle 7. Get yourself to safety first." Doyen's voice crackled through the static. "No time, sir. The storm is getting worse. If I don't guide the next shuttle now, no one else gets out." Junho looked at the terrified aliens around him. "I'm reading you the flight path. Follow it exactly." The shuttle hit the ground hard. Metal screamed. The hull cracked. Junho felt something break in his chest, but he kept talking, reading coordinates and wind patterns to the horizon. His voice stayed calm and clear even as the shuttle fell apart around him. "Got it, Junho," Doyen said. "Now get out of there." "Will do, Captain. Tell those kids I kept my promise." The transmission ended. On the horizon, Doyen stood frozen. Around him, the bridge crew worked in tense silence. They all understood what had just happened. Junho had sacrificed himself to save the others. Using his guidance, 3 more shuttles made it safely through the storm. Every colonist was evacuated, but Junho and 4 other humans didn't make it. When the last shuttle docked, the small alien child Junho had befriended was on it. The child looked around, searching. "Where's Junho?" "He said he'd be right behind us." Soo-hyun knelt down. Her eyes were wet, but her voice was steady. "He had to stay behind to help others. He was very brave. He made sure all of you got home safely." The child understood. Aliens were not so different from humans when it came to grief. The small creature started crying, and Soo-hyun held it close, her own tears falling silently. 3 days later, a funeral was held on the horizon. The 5 humans who died in the rescue were honored. Aliens and humans stood together. The ceremony combined traditions from both cultures. When it came time for speeches, Jiwoo stepped forward. "We come from Earth," she began, her voice carrying across the assembled crowd. "It's a hard planet, a dangerous planet. Every day Earth tried to kill our ancestors. Predators hunted them. Diseases struck them. Weather threatened them. They survived by being strong, by being tough, by refusing to give up." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "The galaxy sees that strength and calls us dangerous. They're not wrong. We are dangerous. We can survive things that would kill most species. We can fight when others cannot. But Earth taught us something else too. When you know what it's like to suffer, you learn to care about others who suffer. When you know what it's like to be in danger, you learn to protect those who cannot protect themselves." Tears streamed down her face now. "That's what humans really are. We're strong because we had to be, but we use that strength to help others." Junho didn't have to stay behind. He could have saved himself. But he chose to save others instead. That's humanity. That's who we are. The ceremony ended. The footage was broadcast across the galaxy. Billions watched Jiwoo's speech. It was translated into thousands of languages, shared on countless networks, discussed in homes and government chambers on hundreds of worlds. Public opinion began to shift. The rescued colonists told their stories. They described how humans carried them through fire and storm, how humans fought in conditions that should have been lethal, how humans refused to leave anyone behind, even at cost to themselves. The small alien child drew a picture of Junho and shared it on the Galactic network. It went viral. Millions of aliens saw a crude drawing of a human holding an alien child's hand, with the caption written in childish letters. "He promised to keep me safe." He kept his promise. But not everyone was convinced. Many species still feared humanity. The debate raged in the Galactic Council. Then, 2 weeks after the refuge rescue, everything changed again. An emergency signal came from the Council homeworld. It was marked with the highest priority. Doyen opened it immediately. Ambassador Velthar's face appeared on screen. He looked terrified. "Captain Kim, we need your help. The Krix Dominion has launched a full invasion. 300 warships are attacking our territory. We weren't prepared. Our defenses are scattered. Dozens of worlds will fall before we can respond." "How long until your fleet can assemble?" Doyen asked. 3 days. But by then, millions will be dead. The Krix will reach the core worlds. We'll lose half our territory. Doyen studied the tactical map. The Krix fleet was moving through a narrow corridor between star systems. If something could slow them down there, it would buy time for the Council fleet to arrive. but it would take a force willing to fight impossible odds. Ambassador, how far is Earth's fleet from that corridor? Velthar looked confused. Earth has a fleet? We thought you only had exploration vessels. We have 47 warships. They were designed for Earth's high-gravity, high-radiation environment. They're tough, and they can reach that corridor in time to intercept. 47 ships against 300? Captain, that's suicide. We don't have to win. We just have to hold them for 3 days. Can you give me tactical authorization? Velthar hesitated. The council was still debating whether to trust humans, but they were out of options. I'll authorize it. But Captain, everyone will be watching. This will determine humanity's future. Understood. We'll do our best. Doyen turned to his crew. Send a message to Earth, tell them we need the fleet, and tell them to bring everything they've got. 2 days later, Earth's fleet arrived at the corridor. 47 ships ranging from destroyers to cruisers. They were not elegant like council vessels. Human ships were blocky and heavily armored, built to survive Earth's dangerous space environment. They looked crude compared to alien designs, but they were functional. Admiral Tae-Young Han commanded the fleet from the battleship Indomitable. He was an old warrior, gray-haired and scarred. He had fought in every major conflict Earth had seen in the past 30 years. Now he would fight in humanity's first space battle. All ships, this is the Admiral. We're facing 6-to-1 odds. The enemy has better weapons and more ships, but we have 3 advantages. First, our ships are built stronger. Second, our crews can handle higher G-forces, giving us better maneuverability. Third, we've been fighting each other for 10,000 years. We know war. Today we show the galaxy what that means. Hold the line for 3 days. That's all we need to do. Admiral Han out. The Krix fleet appeared on sensors. 300 massive warships advancing in a tight formation. They detected the human fleet and slowed, confused. 47 tiny ships stood between them and their objective. The Krix commander opened a communication channel. Unknown vessels, you are blocking our path. Move aside or be destroyed. Admiral Han responded calmly. This is Admiral Tae-Young Han of the United Earth Space Force. You are hereby ordered to withdraw from Council space. This is your only warning. The Krix commander laughed. 47 ships against 300. You're insane. Or suicidal. We're human, Han replied. Same thing. He cut the transmission. All ships, battle formation. Let's see what these raiders are made of. The battle began. The Krix expected an easy victory. They had fought Council forces before. Council ships were fast but fragile, built for quick strikes and retreat. They relied on shields and evasion. But human ships were different. The first Krix volley hit the human line. Shields flared, armor sparked. But the human ships kept coming. They didn't retreat. They didn't evade. They flew straight into the Krix formation, absorbing damage that should have destroyed them. Human weapons opened fire. The accuracy was incredible. Every shot hit its target. Krix ships started taking damage. But they had numbers. For every hit the humans landed, the Krix landed 10. Slowly, the human fleet was being worn down. Then the humans changed tactics. Instead of fighting defensively, they became aggressive. Human ships accelerated at rates that would kill most organic crews. They pulled maneuvers that should have torn their ships apart. But human pilots, trained in high-gravity environments, could handle forces that would knock other species unconscious. A human destroyer flew directly through a gap in the Krix formation, firing in all directions. It took massive damage but destroyed 3 Krix ships before limping away. A cruiser rammed a Krix battleship, the impact destroying both vessels but creating chaos in the enemy formation. The Krix had never seen anything like it. These humans fought without fear, without hesitation. They used tactics that seemed insane. Kamikaze runs, ramming attacks, close-range brawls where ships traded fire at point-blank range. It was brutal. It was savage. It was human. The battle raged for 3 days. The human fleet was reduced to 15 ships, but they held the line. The Krix lost over 100 ships and made no progress through the corridor. Their commander realized these were not normal opponents. These were Deathworlders. Every ship was a fortress. Every crew fought like cornered predators. On the 3rd day, the Council fleet arrived. 200 fresh warships joined the battle. The Krix, already battered and demoralized, broke and ran. The humans had done it. They had held impossible odds long enough for help to arrive. Admiral Han sat in his damaged command chair, covered in blood from a head wound. Around him, his bridge crew was exhausted but alive. All ships report. How many did we lose? 32 ships destroyed, sir. 15 survivors, all damaged. Total casualties, 8,000 dead, 3,000 wounded.